Tjoni. What's your
Jean.
name? Jean?
And John.
And John. Jean and John.
Jean.
Nice.
And his son's James.
Mm-hmm.
And James.
And
JJ.
Triple J.
Wow. Good taste in music?
So I listen to 3MDR.
Oh dear. Well, you're just going to have to
Local
your
radio?
initials then.
No, yes.
Cool. Well, I was just going to chat a bit about collaborative project management. Seeing as part of one of the main focuses on bringing people together today is to create more networks for collaborative projects. So, does anyone have an idea of what collaborative project management actually is?
Getting different groups together.
Yeah. So when we think of a traditional, say, management model, say if you were thinking of a corporation, for instance, does that feel like something that would be collaborative?
Oh, I see what you mean. So that's like top down.
So top down, exactly. So you can think of it like a pyramid. And actually, Maris, can I just ask you to grab, please, that big board on the back table? I've even got like graphics, everything. So yeah, so that's exactly it. So your standard hierarchical top-down model. That's kind of what we've been brought up with for a long time. Thank you so much. So I've got a little pyramid here. Okay, so you've generally got like your visionary, who might be a director, then you would have your upper management with your CEOs and things like that, and then you might have middle management, and you've got your technicians, and then you've got all your plebs down the bottom, right? There's very little connection between the top and bottom, usually. A lot of places are starting to shift that, which is amazing, but on the whole, whoever's up on the top has very little idea of what's happening down the bottom. And generally, the people down the bottom have very little idea what's happening at the top. So, thankfully, some organisations are having more awareness of this. And so I've heard of some corporations that even though they still have that hierarchical structure, that instead of, say, your director being behind closed doors, like up in the top level away from everything, they're actually in the centre. And then all of your levels move out. Because people are realising that, the biggest ideas can come from the person who's making coffee for everyone, the person who's delivering the mail, the person who's cleaning the hallways. You know, they always have so much wisdom. And also, the people that are working on the bottom, they're sitting there in all the process. You know, they have an idea what's happening on the floor. And so they often have amazing ideas of how those kind of things can happen better. So just allowing for that ease of communication, for one, it empowers the people that are on the floor, but also it can, offer ease of sharing of communication. So collaborative project management, then, rather than having your hierarchical structure, you could think of it as bringing that into a circle. So you still have a director. You know, we still need the visionary. We still need the person with the ideas. We still need the person who's out there in the jungle with the machete cutting through a new path. Yeah? To give the other people an idea of where we could possibly go and what we could possibly do. But in a collaborative model, everybody is answerable to each other. So you still have managers, you still have directors, you still have your financial officers, you still have your marketers and your salespeople, you still have all of the things, but their relationship to each other is different. So your director is going to be answerable to the janitor. Yeah? Has anyone heard of dragon dreaming? Yeah. Now there's two dragon dreamings. One's a festival, and one's a project management system. Yeah. All right. So I was just introduced to this a few years ago. So there's a guy called John Croft. He's from Perth, and he teaches this process called dragon dreaming, and that is, he calls it the bottom-up approach. I still like to call it the circular approach. But it's a form of collaboration where a dreamer comes in, he calls them the dreamer. In a corporate model, it might be the director. Yeah. And the dreamer gathers together a dream team. Might be about 7 or 8 people that person feels can help to really bring that dream to fruition. And those people together, they'll put their dream into the centre and then the dream dies. They have no ownership of it whatsoever. And then it becomes workshops throughout the circle until it becomes a worthwhile investment of everybody's time, energy, resources. So right from the beginning, that power is kind of taken back. And then there's lots of beautiful things all of the way through that process. So the process of creating tasks and goals and objectives, all of the things happen collaboratively. And then traditionally these days, if someone's going to go for a job, they've got to be the one that's really qualified, yeah? Well, if you want an upper, not an entry-level position, people are looking for letters after your name. They're looking for X amount of years experience and how well you can, make your way up the ladder and say yes or no, sir. But in this model, he suggests that the person that's in charge, or the custodian of something, so tasks are going to gradually make themselves into groups. You'll end up having your production and your marketing and your administration, your tasks will make their way into these different areas. And then the person that is most inspired and the most wants to learn about that, they become the custodian of that. The person who's the most qualified, who would get pretty bored doing it because they know it too well, they just come in as a support, as a mentor. And then the person that's kind of interested but really quite terrified, they come in as an intern. So there's all of these triads and interweavings happening through all of the different parts of the project. So how does that sound? Yeah, it does sound amazing. Does anyone else think that sounds amazing? I think it sounds amazing. And so far, he's had 100% success in his projects all over the world. And they've created some astounding things. The city of Perth actually used that process of the dreaming in the city's plans. It would have been quite a few years ago now, because I saw the video on this about 4 or 5 years ago. And they had 100 people, 100 dreamers on 10 tables, 10 people per table, and they worked these ideas through. And that's how they created this brand new plan for the city of Perth. So it doesn't need, although it's aimed at grassroots kind of projects, it can actually expand quite well. And so that's one of the things that I'm really interested in being able to generate by creating, platforms like this for us to get together and just interconnect. So Inspiral is kind of the big umbrella of what I've been birthing, germinating, dreaming through for the last quite a few years. And I've just got this sense that, part of me's got this sense that there's these huge corporate entities that have so much power. It's like, why is it? Well, they've got so much wealth, they've just got so much financial power behind them. And it's like, well, how can we create something that can not even compete, but just make them just not appropriate or powerful anymore? And so in my mind, I've just got this sense of this entity that is the size of one of these huge big multinational corporations, but that is made up of collectives, of collaborators, of people, projects that are more interested in the earth and each other than lining their pockets. So the stakeholders are everybody on the earth, not some random people over there. So it's just like a completely different way of thinking. And, well, maybe it's not so different. I know that there's a lot of good people out there doing amazing stuff and just really changing what business can be. And, I heard a wonderful quote some time ago saying, it used to be, if you wanted to change the world, you got into politics. Well, we know that that's not effective. So these days, if you want to change the world, you get into business. And business for a long time has had this kind of dryness about it. It had this blandness about it. But I heard another wonderful quote that business is actually, as an entrepreneur, you are standing on the bridge, traversing the bridge between your dreaming and the people that it will serve. Yeah? So, all of the beautiful creators and the sustainability workers and the healers and everybody that wants to support those, we can get on those bridges and we can start to traverse them and make them really strong. And we're the ones that need to do it. Yeah. So Jeffrey Slater said at a marketing conference some years ago, he's like, all of you people out there that are hiding, that are going, no, I don't need to make money because I'm not selfish and, I'm a healer or I'm a poor starving artist, I don't need much. He's like, no, actually you guys need to be the ones stepping up and making money because you're going to be the ones that will be funneling it into life-affirming projects or whatever, Yeah? Hey, I'm talking myself into it. I hope I'm talking you into it. No, it doesn't need talking into it. It's just sharing inspiration. So what else have I got here? Alright, so this is a bit of my vision. So here, so I've got a vision of in spiral. Well, this is the start of it. The start of it is that we have 4 entities. One is a rural community, working like an intentional community, but an intentional business community. Because me and so many people I know would love to be living in community, but how to generate wealth and abundance for everybody when most of those spaces that you could create a community are quite far away from town. If we can create enterprise within that structure, then we create our own vortex of just awesome projects. And it's in Spiral, which came out of a beautiful Spiral like closing ceremony at Byron Spirit Festival a few years ago. And on the way drive back down from that, it was just like download. And so this beautiful community came out that's like spiral shaped, and so there's like a front, like the cafe, performance space, library, public offering at the front, and then a performing arts space, a healing arts space, a creative arts space, an area for your permaculture and your eco-building and all of that kind of stuff, an area for your science and technology, putting the resources into renewables and things that we can't count on other people to do, and then having your spirit hub in the centre. The place where everybody goes where they want to connect with themselves, connect with each other, connect with the earth, and that's holding everything, yeah? And so you're growing your own food, you're running festivals, you've got a lot of people living there, as well as plenty of space for people to be coming and having a holiday in somewhere inspiring. And the other thing with that is, earlier today I was talking about creativity in education and how incredibly important it is, especially for kids that their attention spans are just, I don't even have a word for it. But bringing their learning into the actual environment so they have a context of what they're doing, so that they're not stuck in a classroom. A classroom is simply a holding space where they can go and just allow all of the information to seep in. But that the actual learning happens out on the ground. That happens, helping out with the permaculture projects. That happens putting their hands on the sick person and helping to make them well with their beautiful thoughts. It happens, in the kitchen, learning how to harvest weeds and cook them, and just in life, that becomes their school. And if anyone is interested, there's an amazing man called Ricardo Semler from South America. And that's just a whole other discussion, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but he talks about really shifting the culture of education because he wants to shift the culture of that top-down corporate model and giving people empowerment to make all of their own decisions. He does it, he said, so many people still want to be told what to do because that's what they've always been told, so they don't know how to step into themselves and become empowered in their roles. So he was like, well, where do we start? School. So he created the Lumiar school, Lumiar, and it's all project-based learning. So they still have all of these competencies that they need to learn, but there's not this testing and everything happens in context-free projects. So it's really quite inspiring. And the other thing that I'll briefly touch on before we move on is who knows Permapixie? Taj, you know it. She's a wonderful permaculturalist, and she was doing a talk at the Sustainable Living Festival recently, and she was talking about the different forms of capital, and that finances are only one of them. Yeah. Now, Jack Fresco from the Venus Project, another awesome person to look up. He was saying that, in the world we've got more than enough food to feed everyone. We've got more than enough buildings to house for our medical needs, for our educational needs. We've got more than enough for everything. We've got enough resources, but we don't have the money to pay for it. So finance has just become this ludicrous wall. Yeah. So if you look at the different forms of capital, we've got experiential, we've got our know-how, our ideas, our knowledge, our education. We've got our cultural capital, which is our stories, our myths, our songs, and our language. We've got our living capital, which is the soil, the water, the animals, the plants. We've got our financial, money, currency, security. We've got our material, all the materials, the structures, the things that we need. We've got our social, our influence, our connections, and our networks. We've got our spiritual, our faith, our karma, our presence. And we've got the intellectual, our knowledge, problem solving. And so one thing that I'm seeing with starting to create collaborative projects is that rather than a dreamer and a visionary going, I want to do this thing, therefore I need to try it and either work my ass off for 5 years to fund the thing or apply for a gazillion grants, that you actually go, well, what do I need this money for? Well, I need it for a printer and for a marketer and for a technician and for teachers and for all of these things. You bring those people into the circle. So they start investing. They invest their time, their resources, their expertise. So that together you can generate something now rather than months or years down the track. Yeah? And then everybody has ownership of that. Everybody has their piece of the pie. And one of the things I see in that is if somebody's going to get paid the X amount of dollars per hour, regardless of what kind of job they do, it's not necessarily the most inspiring thing. But if everybody owns that, and so the better a job they put in, the better a product they create, and the more that comes back to them. I don't know, I just said that might be a bit more inspiring. So there you go, a few little ideas to digest.